Okay, we are now recording to the cloud, and I'm going to go live to Facebook. When I go live to Facebook, I will disappear. I'll be the woman behind the curtain. Pay no attention to me. Claire's going to take it over. So I will. Glenda's also going to let us know if we're live on Facebook, and I should probably see something happen on my computer here.
Do you want me to let you know when it shows up on Facebook?
Actually, it's telling me I have no permission to live stream.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is what we got yesterday.
Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to try to make Glenda the host.
Okay.
And see if she can live stream. It was working as it had in the past.
Yes, let's try.
Okay,
This is exactly what happened yesterday, Laura.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I got the same thing. You do not have permission to live stream. I think that's because I signed in under my own name. Claire, it may be you're going to have to do this.
But I'm not. I'm signed in under my. I am under my
Did
name.
anybody sign? Nobody is signed in.
Lori is signed in as MWA.
So you have to be signed into Facebook as MWA, I think.
That's correct. You've got to be sort of as like the administrator.
Okay, what I'm going to do to get us going then is we're recording now. We can always upload this to Facebook later. It won't be Facebook Live unless we can figure this out. I'll try to do that behind the scenes, but I'm going to get going. So I'm going to go over to Facebook, post a note to tell them that we're having technical difficulties.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So
I can do that. I can do that. I'm on the page already.
Okay, thanks, Glenda. All right, so I'm going to go dark and silent and give this over to MWA President Claire Johnson to take the mic.
Thank you, Lori and Glenda. Thank you very much. Before we started this, we were all chatting amongst each other about technology. And there's software can enhance your organizational skills, and this various software flooding the market. And two of the more popular tools are Scrivener and Plottr. Here today are NorCal members Margaret Dumas and Eileen Rendahl to give a brief overview of their experiences with their software of choice. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and Lori will read them out loud at the end of the presentation. Margaret Dumas is the author of the Movie Palace Mysteries, a fabulous fun book set in San Francisco, featuring our heroine Nora Page, Murder at the Palace, Murder in the Balcony, Murder on the Silver Screen. In addition, she's the author of the Madcap Mystery Series featuring Charlie Van Leeuwen and Jack Fairfax, and Speak Now and How to Succeed in Murder, and the standalone rom-com The Balance Thing. Eileen Rendahl is a ghostwriter and national bestseller and award-winning author of mystery, thriller, urban fantasy, this woman does it all, science fiction, and romance. She has also written as Christy Abbott, Lillian Bell, and Eileen Carr. Eileen's first novel with a major New York publisher was a double finalist for the Romance Writers of America Rita Award in its mainstream novel with romantic elements category, as well as a finalist for the National Reader's Choice Award. She has gone on to be a finalist for the Daphne du Maurier Award, the Bookseller's Best Award, the Book Buyer's Best Award, the Award of Excellence, and the Prism Award. Her work has won the Laurie's Award and the Beacon Award in the mainstream novel and romantic elements category, and the National Reader's Choice Award in the paranormal category. She's a writing machine, this woman. So Eileen is going to present a short primer on using Scrivener and how the software can assist you in organizing your writing. Margaret is going to do the same thing, but using Plottr. So we have Scrivener and Plottr. Given that I'm ignorant of both programs, I'm really going to appreciate this presentation. Eileen, why don't you start?
Actually, when Margaret and I were talking earlier, we decided that she was going to go first.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you can't do that.
Claire's muzzling me again.
I'm emperor here. No, you can't do that. Of course. Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. And thank you for that very nice introduction, Claire. I'm going to start by sharing my screen with how I used to work until about a year ago. This is sort of an outline for the third in the Movie Palace book, and you can tell I did it on a calendar because it was set at a theater. The red is when the movies changed, and then these are all scenes, and then each scene would get a 3x5 card written in very special red ink because witchcraft works. And then I would also have Word documents for all of my research notes, all of my character information, just basically anything that I needed to remember would go in Word docs. Okay, so that's as it used to be. And then now what I'm doing is using Plottr. This is what the next book in the series, which I may or may not finish writing, but I started doing it. So this is how it looks in Plottr. And I've sort of adapted Plottr. One of the things that I like about it is that I can sort of force it to think the way I do, rather than me being forced to think the way a specific tool does. So I organize things, especially in most of my books, and especially in the Movie Palace books, I organize it by day. And I may not have, and then I want to know what day of the week it is, because that matters. The movie changes on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's the asterisks. And then the plot happens off of those days. So basically, this is my calendar, and this is what used to be the what I would do in pencil. And the nice thing is that you can have, I want to show you that without necessarily opening it, then all of your notes. So this is what my 3x5 card used to be. So I've got, it makes sense in my mind to adapt how I've been working for years with this tool. And so that's why I'm enjoying it. And it's got, you can have any number of these lines that go across, and you can also see them different ways if you want to see things differently. And then you've got a space for your notes. On this, I don't have any notes. A space for all of your characters. So everything is in the same place for if you want to do, things on your places. And then it's all in a project. And the thing about Plottr is it really, this is one of the things that I'm a little bit, I haven't really explored, but they really do have the concept of, if you're working on a series, this is very useful for you. So right now, because I didn't set it up to be that way, because I only started using this on book 4, I don't have it in there, but you could have all of your books going through and then keep your same notes and characters and plot, but have different outlines or have different timelines for your different books. Okay, I feel like I'm getting a little bit lost in the weeds here. What did I want to show? Let's just show what it looks like when you create a blank project. Oh, whoops. And I need to share the new project screen. What am I doing? Okay. What? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I think I need to stop sharing for a minute and do this thing. Do this file, create blank project. Okay. Why is it not creating a blank project? Create blank project. File, okay. Create from template. Wow, you guys, okay. So it may be a little bit buggy. Let me share again, and you can see the, you cannot, here we go. Okay, so this is what happens when you create a new thing, and you can either go blank, which is what I've always done, but the templates, whoops. Are you still seeing this?
Yes.
No, you're not seeing the untitled. No, you're seeing, what are you seeing? Okay, I think I need to stop sharing and then I'll just share my whole desktop is what I'll do. Okay, Because you were not seeing, I think, the open new, right?
We are now seeing the page that shows how to create blank projects where you're.
Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to show you, because one of the cool things about it, and honestly, I have not investigated this a lot, but there are all of these templates. And I think that if someone is new to writing and new to writing mysteries, there's a lot of hand-holding that can happen here. So there's the mystery formula, there's the cozy mystery beat sheet, which just tells you, you know, these are your 4 plot lines and these are your scenes. There's a foolproof pulp formula, which I think is less than useful. There's what's the other one? There's the sleuth's journey, which is based on the hero's journey. There's the villain's journey. There's a lot of stuff that if you're just playing around and you're not quite sure what you're doing, this I think would be useful handholding for you. As I say, I haven't really played around with it, but I think I might. I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, so let's go to some of the other things I can show you, which is not necessarily in this book, but here's another one where I flipped the timeline. And in this one, I don't know why, but it made sense for me to have, okay, this is like going to take place in the course of 1 week. So I've got my days of the week here, and then I've got the things happening. You know, these are my scenes within the chapter happening here. I feel like I've gone over this too much. Everybody gets it already. One of the nice things about Plottr is that when it comes time to send it into your editor, it gives you this automatic outline. It takes your timeline and turns it into an outline format, which then you can export to Word and just tweak as you will. I really like the notes that I can keep. There's another one that I'm working on. Where's this one? Yeah, this one I've got. This is a historical that I'm working on. And what I really like is that you can put the images in there. And so I have, you know, oh, what was the London season like? Okay, and what did one wear to a funeral? And always useful information when you're doing a mystery. So this is where my research goes that otherwise might have been just in Word docs or in you know, reference in bookmarks for the web. Also, you've got your characters, and one of the nice things, I don't have it here, but I do have it in some, is when you do a character, you can choose an image. So like you can cast your movie of your book. Like I have one now where I've got actors and actresses for everything that I want to, everybody that I want, all of the characters that I want to have. The other thing, one of the things that I don't particularly care for is that you can only have one image per note. So so when I just showed you that thing here with all the dresses, what I would really like is to have one page that says wedding dresses and a bunch of different images. And I can't see how I can do that, but what I can do, which I've done on another one on places, is you can have a Pinterest link. So I put a lot of imagery on Pinterest and then I can just link to it right there. So it's, you know, it's not in the system, but it's accessible from the system. So the thing about Plottr is that it's for all your stuff that's extraneous to the book. It's for your outline, your timeline, your characters, your research, all of that sort of stuff. You don't do the actual writing in the tool. I still use Word for that, and that works for me. Let me show you just a little bit about, let's see, the website, the Plottr website. I wanted to show you that even though, okay, this is really embarrassing because my whole career in my day job has been in technical documentation, and I have not read the docs on this. But they're there, and there's lots of docs on this. And there's also a lot of, there are also, if you're more of that type, there's good videos. Another thing that I thought was really interesting in the resources section was the demos. So here we go. They've done Plottr for these things, like Pride and Prejudice in Plottr. This is what it looks like. And that to me really helps me make it click, because obviously we're all familiar with most of these works. And so I found that really useful. The last thing is pricing, and it's kind of all over the place. I ended up, I want to use it on both my desktop and I want to take it with me on my laptop. So I ended up getting the thing where I can do 3 devices instead of 1 device. But really, if you only have 1 device, $25 a year isn't that bad. And I like that you can do it for a year and decide if you like it before you decide, oh, look, Elliot D just purchased Plottr. Okay, so I think that was everything I wanted to cover. Timelines, examples, the pros, the cons. I wish there were, I wish that there were the multiple images. That's my big con. Yeah, and I think that's a whirlwind tour of Plottr. At least as I play with it. Ta-da! Take it away, Eileen.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to also share my screen here and hope that we can make this all work. Desktop 1. Okay, you can now see my screen. So since Margaret started with how she used to do things, this is kind of how I used to do things. That is like one of those great big science trifold things with a bunch of different colored Post-it notes on it. And it actually was kind of fun to do it that way. I'm visual and I like crafts, so it kind of worked for me, but it's not mobile. You can take pictures of it and take it other places, but also after time, the Post-it notes stop sticking, so things fall off and it's a little bit of a problem. So anyway, I started using Scrivener, and I'm going to start by opening a new project. There's a lot of different templates. I did want to show you this one first. They actually have one for a murder mystery novel. One of the things that I'm jealous about with Plottr is those templates. I struggle so much with structure. I can think of all these different wonderful things I want to put in my book, but figuring out where to put them for me is super challenging. So it was kind of fun to see that they now had this murder mystery. Okay, there we go. So doesn't look too exciting until you see that, but then you go into things like planning. So a 1-paragraph summary of your story. Expand it to a page, your subplot summaries, your suspect list, clues, secrets and lies. It just was a really nice little thing of stuff that you should be thinking about before you start writing your novel or while you're writing it. And under draft, what goes in the beginning, what goes in the middle, what goes in the end. So those were actually pretty handy. I think those are handy. There's also, Margaret was talking about places to put her research, and there's lots of great things here. There's a character thing. You can create a character sheet, which gives you all kinds of things to fill in to know about your character and easy to get to, and you can add a photo to it, and same with settings. So kind of similar to Plottr, you can get to those things quickly and it's pretty handy. Then the next, but I don't usually use that murder mystery one. Like I said, because I tend to know a lot of things that are happening, I don't necessarily want to have those folders there that force me to put something someplace. I'll start a lot of times with just a series of scenes. So I've set something up already so you don't have to watch me type a whole lot. So a lot of times I just create scenes. So I created like a series of scenes here so you can see we've got introduced the sleuth, the mystery introduced, a few little things like that. So one of the things that I find very handy with this, let me move that over so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, is you have this synopsis area. So I see introduce the sleuth. I can put a bunch of things that I want to know about here in the book, like Margaret is late. She meets the cute guy in this scene. She sees the following clues. So when I get to the point where I'm writing this scene, I know what I want to put in there. And if I go to the card view and for the whole manuscript, I see on that card exactly what it is I'm supposed to be putting in that scene. If you don't put anything there, you just get the first couple sentences of the scene that you've actually written. And if you do this in outline form, you get this. Introduce the sleuth. Margaret is late. You see all the same things. But this time it's in an outline form rather than just the cards. Let's see, what did I want to, oh, so then you can also, let's say that's not enough for you. You don't want to do just that. You want to be a little bit more formal about it. One of the things that I really liked with what Margaret was showing in Plottr is that you can have these things where like, what's going on in the subplot, what's going on in the romance, what's going on all these different lines and see it. So you can do something very similar in Scrivener. You can set up your own metadata. We're going to do that first. So let's say, let me back up so I don't do it too, I always go too fast with these things. So I went to this particular label in Scrivener and I got to set up custom metadata. So I'm going to hit that button. And to add a metadata, you just hit this little line. So I'm going to put in main plot and romance, preferably without any typos, and clues. What clues is she going to see? Now, you can have different kinds of things here. I'm putting in just text because that's usually what I use, but you can create a checkbox, you can create a list. The date, I've not found that useful just because it'll put in, you only get the date that it truly is right now. So I say, okay. And now when I'm here, I can say, oh, main plot. The important thing is to meet Matilda in the romance. It's for the cute guy to show up. And I can put in what clues I think need to go in that scene that Matilda's going to find, like the broken flower pot and the missing knife need to go there. So now when I go up here and look at the cards, you don't see any of that stuff. It's only here on the actual scene. But if you go into outline form, I know you're still not seeing it, but you can decide what goes on there. Title and synopsis. I'm going to take these off right now, but then you can add in main plot, romance, clues. And now those are there in your outline form when you're looking at your book. So you can see what's going to be happening in each of those scenes. One other thing that you can do is create keywords. Maybe you want to keep track of how many things are focused on the main plot, how many things are focused on the subplot, how many things are focused on the romance. So over here where you see keywords, you have show project keywords, and you just start creating them. So we have main plot, romance, subplot. So then if you want to add one of, so let's say, okay, this first scene, let's say it's got all three of these things. So I'm going to take all three of these and drag them over here to the keywords thing. So I know when I've got that scene open, oh, I'm supposed to be putting those things in. But if you are trying to look at this as a whole to help yourself organize, so like maybe you don't want the romance in every scene, you want it like every fourth scene, you can see that in the outline by, first of all, you have to go to View, Corkboard Options, Range by Label. Oh, wait, I think I have to do here. Oh, it's already got show keyword colors. So you go to here and you can see that the colors that I assigned to that card are right there. So if I want to keep track of, oh, I want to keep track of this purple thing and then go through and check to see how often that romance plot comes up. It's right there. And in outline form, you have to tell it to add it, but you can click this. So that when you go to outline form, if you want to just be looking down your series of scenes to see when those colors pop up, it's right there for you. I really liked the way Margaret had things organized by day. That seemed very helpful to me, but so sometimes, like I said, I don't know when things are happening as I'm like creating all these different things. So I just want the scenes in there. I don't want to worry about what day to put them in, but it's easy enough to create a folder like this one that says day one, and you can take whatever scenes you think should go into day one and drag them down into day one. And then that's where they'll show up from then. And then you can move it around. Now, the one thing that I can do in Scrivener that Margaret can't do or doesn't do in Plottr is I write directly in Scrivener. I go to this mode, I write my scene, and if I've written that scene and decide to move it, if I move this little icon, the whole thing goes. So I've moved the whole text. I used to drive myself insane when I was working in Word because I would lose stuff. I would be like, I know I wrote this scene, but I can't, I mean, you have, you know, a 70, 80,000 word document. Sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for. So it really helped me a lot to be able to move things all of a piece. So I think that is it for what I wanted to show. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and find out if there's any questions.
I stepped away for a minute and don't know if someone actually asked you, which version of Scrivener are you using? Is it Scrivener 3? Also, are you on a Mac or a PC? Oh, you muted, Eileen.
I do not know what version I'm using because I am, let's see, what does this say here? Version 3.2.3, and I am on a Mac.
Can I ask a question about Scrivener? I mean, my experience is that you're writing in Scrivener. How do you then get it out to send it to someone? Because
There's a compile function. So you come up here, file, compile.
You stop sharing.
I stopped sharing. So hold on, I'll go back to the sharing.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Hopefully you can both hear me and see my screen now.
yes.
So you go to File, Compile, and this comes up. So over here, you can tell it what you do and don't want in in the document that you're creating. Up here, you choose what you want it to go to. So Microsoft Word, a PDF. I don't use a bunch of these, so I don't necessarily know exactly how they work. But then you choose, and then you hit the compile button, and ta-da, you're done.
Eileen, before you leave that screen, can you just show me again how you opened a new project where you had all the different types of novels and the different scene cards that go with the novels? Was it under
Sure.
file?
Yes, it was. Let me cancel out of that.
Thank you.
So file, new project. They
Right.
do have a ton of different kinds of templates.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I use either novel or novel with parts, but there's all these other ones, screenplays, short stories. There's a ton of things to choose from.
So you didn't upgrade, you just went right to the 3.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes I get upgrades, but that was the one other thing that I liked about Scrivener versus Plottr is you buy it once. It's not a
Yeah.
subscription. So you're not paying each year for it. Although I will say when Plottr first came out, they did a web presentation and I attended it. And at the end, they were like, oh, anybody who wants to buy it, if you attended this, you get a certain price break on it. So many of us went to try to buy the program. It crashed the site. And I was going to go back and get it later. But by that time, it's like that overthinking things. But I was like, well, is there anything that it's doing that I can't already do in Scrivener? And while I'm super jealous of all those templates, I figured I can kind of create those myself. I know how to look at Save the Cat or the writer or the hero's journey and to put those in if I want them.
But these, when you click on say murder mystery novel, it gives you the scenes, doesn't it, that they recommend?
It's not super specific, and that is one that it does have some of that stuff in it, but I need so much help with structure. It's not enough.
No.
Well, oddly enough, I noticed that Plottr exports to Scrivener. So I don't know what it exports or how it looks when it gets there or how you would use them together. But I guess they see that use case of someone wanting to do something in Plottr and then take it to Scrivener.
Well, what I really liked about Plottr was it was a little bit more like my big old science board with all the Post-it notes. It was really visual for me, and that's helpful for me. But I think it just depends on how you process information.
So Eileen, while you are still in sharing screen mode, could you show us if there's a way to see word count for sections or just for the whole document?
You can do word count for individual scenes. So that's usually, that should be down
at the bottom, right?
Yeah, there. And if you go up here, you'll see that's for the whole project. I'm not sure if you can do it by section. That's not something I've tried to do before. I wonder if you go to day 1. No, it still gives you the whole thing.
Okay. I thought, so this is what happens with me. I think I figured it out once and then I'm like, okay, now I know. And you know what? Now I don't know anymore. So.
Well, here's the other thing too. The Literature and Latte site, Literature and Latte is the company that makes Scrivener. They have, I don't know how many tutorials on there that are all 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So like if you go on and you're looking for something specific to, can I do section word count? Just go in and look. They probably have something if it can do that. And honestly, sometimes I don't even do that. Sometimes I just Google what it is I'm trying to do. And there'll be, Literature and Latte tutorials, but there's a bunch of people out there who are trying to explain to people how they use this. And you can generally find something.
And Scrivener also has a YouTube page, and those videos are available on the YouTube page. And I think Plottr does as well.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're also very good about simplistic. Plottr uses, at least when I first started using Plottr, it used the 3 Three Little Pigs, I think, as the story that they untangled for the plot. It's actually pretty cute. So does anyone else have any questions about Plottr or Scrivener? Now, especially now that you're looking at Eileen's screen, we saw the templates. She showed you how things move around and how to compile. Did you go to full screen, Eileen? Show them what that looks like?
No, I didn't, because I never use that.
Oh, I do all the time. It's actually the up next to the white, up on the top next to the white eye, or the blue white eye and the blue circle. That's full screen, and it actually just is going to show you what's in the middle of your page. Oh, and go ahead. Yeah. So when you're in a document and you're typing in full screen, when you have enough verbiage and you've reached the middle of your page will scroll, and always keep your cursor in the middle of the page. So you don't fall off the bottom.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So we have a question, will we be emailing the recording to participants? So we won't be emailing the recording, but it is, Claire has been loading them on the MWA NorCal YouTube page. And this one, I think she usually pulls them from Facebook Live.
I do.
We don't have today, but this is being recorded to the cloud. So I will provide Claire with a copy of this, and it will end up on the MWA NorCal YouTube page.
I thank you, Lori. I do have a question about, I noticed when in the compiler function that it's actually set up for you to self-publish. It had, you could turn it into a 6x9 book or what, so I thought that was actually quite useful, because I'm not using Scrivener, but when I looked at that, I thought, oh, maybe I need to use Scrivener, because when you're self-publishing, part of the real bear is formatting. And if this format's for you, what a dream.
Yeah. So I don't do very much self-publishing, but
no, I know.
It does sort of guide you through what you kind of need in different things, which is very handy.
Right. And does Plottr do that, Margaret, or no?
No, because you don't do your actual content.
Yeah, you don't do the content. Right,
Yeah.
right. And also I felt that I'm a very linear writer, and I could see Plottr, even though I don't outline, but I am quite linear, quite anal. And so I can see how Plottr would sort of feed my Jones that way. But I'm wondering, Eileen, if because these two programs are very, very different in the way that they just approach writing, whether Scrivener might be more appropriate for people who are not, who want to write scenes and then move the scenes around in order to create character and pacing, improve character and pacing. So, do you both think that that's true, or is it me just plugging this out here?
I don't know. I God bless you. I wish I thought in a linear fashion. I am all over the place all the time. So I'm very jealous. But
don't you think that Scrivener is kind of tailor-made for someone like you who does? Yeah.
It works. I think if you want it, so I have a ghostwriting client that sends me a chapter by chapter outline. So the first thing I do when I get the outline is I create a new project and go ahead and put this in, each chapter, what it's supposed to be in there. And that's still worked out really well for me. One of the things that happens a lot for me is I have trouble remembering people's names in real life. And because I bounce between projects a lot, and I could have two or three going at once. Usually more than two, I get a little crazy. But when you set up those character sheets, it shows the name. So even if I'm just putting in, Matilda, I can, if I've gotten in there and forgotten what the main character's name is, I can just scroll down and I say, oh, this is Matilda's book. So it's, and the same with places. when you're making up places, I don't always remember what I've named them, or where I've put them. If it's an imaginary town, it's very helpful just to be able to scroll down and see those names right away.
So you write in a number of genres, and I'm wondering if Plottr, by virtue of its, its name, virtually its name, is very geared towards mystery writing, because so many mystery novels are very plot based, and whether Scrivener might be appropriate if you're writing across different genres. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I have no idea what the answer is, whether, if you do romance and you do mystery or you do sci-fi. I mean, because, you're a wealth of riches there, Eileen. So I'm wondering if Scrivener works for you, just because, I mean, every book has a plot, but you know what I'm saying, that
no, yeah. On that, I'm not sure that would make a huge difference.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I really like that, the visual layout that
Right.
Margaret showed us in Plottr.
Right.
What do you think, Margaret?
That's what, to me, that's what the big strength is, because it's closest to, like your board with all of the, excuse me,
Bless
with
you.
the Post-its and my, like cards and calendar. I like the visual display, because I don't outline the whole book. I'll go like maybe 5 chapters ahead, but I'll usually know beginning, middle, and end. So I like having the lines there that say, okay, at the end of 2 weeks, we are going to solve the mystery, and this is where it's going to happen, and this is where we're going to have the aha, and this is the confrontation, and I can sort of like build the structure around that way visually, which to me, that works.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really like about Plottr.
So while Eileen is on this page, you talked a bit about exporting from Plottr to Scrivener.
Mhm.
I believe, and Margaret can tell us if I'm correct, that what that will look like is that on the sidebar on the left-hand side of the screen that you're seeing now, each of the chapters that Margaret had developed in Plottr will show up as a chapter in the manuscript section of this of Scrivener.
So she'd have all the 7 days or whatever, how many
It would
days
be
it
in
was.
order that Margaret had it across the, so Plottr for me always looks like a graph. It's got an X and a Y axis, although it's turned upside down and backwards, or at least upside down. So the top row, the way I use it is I have characters down the left-hand side and I have chapters across the top. So the export looks like, when I export, it looks like this under the manuscript, each of the top row chapters on the left-hand side. So if you click on manuscript, Eileen, those are all so it would come in the order that I have it in Plottr, from reading left to right, as we do here in our country. It would show up as a list. So can you guys switch?
Lori, Lori, could you share your screen? I mean, have you done this?
I'm going to stop my share.
So I'm going to let Margaret probably share. So mine, I am on my iMac, so I can see all of you in grand, huge life. And my laptop has all of my writing stuff on it. So
okay.
It's not actually connected to what we're doing right now.
All right. So what do we want to see?
So go back to a project. Okay, so I do mine 180 degrees out. So I love this because this is a very linear thinking. This is how things happen. And there's nothing to say that you can't have both projects, your project in 2 screens at one time. I tend to put the characters down the left-hand side and the chapters across the top. And what that does for me is I can visually see if I've forgotten to include someone for half the book who probably should be in the book, because their whole line is
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Actually, this would work as well, because the lines for Margaret's go down, the lines on mine go across. So yes,
you can flip it to whichever
Right.
you're more comfortable with.
Yeah, so my characters are down the left-hand side on mine, and as they as they are tracking through the project, I can see where they're, so some of them I want to impart information in a certain way. And I like to see and I think maybe I'm very character driven because I'm not very good with plots. So I need the characters to come in whenever they're necessary. And if I've forgotten them, which happens, then I can tangibly see that their line is empty for several chapters.
And I think the only way you would do that in this is by looking at it in outline view, because I haven't assigned my characters or places to these chapters,
Nice.
but it would show up. And honestly, I
okay.
am not sure what these color coded things are. That may mean something. Oh no, these are the plot lines. Okay. This is my
Nice.
green is the murder plot and blue is the days. I see.
Nice. Okay.
That's
So, and
interesting.
the more you have, the more colors you'll have, and the more you'll see that those individuals are integral to each of those sections.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what, Margaret and I did a Facebook Live thing on pantsing versus plotting. And I realized by the end of that presentation that I really needed to plot more. I needed something like this because in my last book, I ended up having a complete, the book was very tight. I mean, it happened within a 5-day spread, and I completely screwed up and had things happening before other things happening. And I had to add more words, which actually ended up being a blessing, but it was very frustrating to try and fit it all into this something like this timeline. And I need to buy this program because it was really frustrating to try and make it work again. And I didn't want to get rid of anything. I didn't want to get rid of anything I had, but I could add things, but then it was just literally pulling stuff out of the air and then throwing things away, and it was my own fault because I was oh no, I can, I don't need anything like this, and
This is a great example that Margaret has up now.
Well, I think also when you do have a really tight timeline where I had no room for error. I mean, I was having people go across San Francisco in a streetcar, and they had to arrive at a certain point at that timeline, they'd be there at 4 and they needed to catch someone on Market Street leaving an office at 5:30. So, I had a very tight timeline, and it's probably a lot more forgiving if you're, if you're pantsing, it's more forgiving if you're not, wedded to that clock. But I was wedded to the clock. And of course, when you do that, that tends to create tension and movement. And, when you have people physically running around, it does create emotional movement as well. But then you're much more beholden to something like this Plottr line, because then you have no room for error.
So Margaret, do you want, when you develop something like this, how does this go about? Can you give us just a quick overview?
Well, because this is book 4, I know that I've got a lot of things that I need to follow up on from the last books. Like there's this romance thing that I've got going with this character named, there's this whole subplot with an ex-husband and how he's manipulating her with these like things. And so I know these are things that I can't forget, but they're not part of the integral mystery. So I want to make sure that they show up. Like, I know that's going to end at the film festival, but I need to make sure to mention that we're working on the film festival occasionally. So I just have this line in there and I'm like, okay, we're going to have a little conversation, once or twice a week about what's the progress on the film festival, so that I don't get to the end of the book and stage this film festival where I can reveal the murderer and it's the first time anybody's heard of it, so mainly this is just so I can, as things occur to me that I used to write down on a 3x5 card and then put in the stack where I thought it would hit. Instead, I'm putting it on one of these timelines.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that you talked to this point and that they've seen it now, but as you go over those lines, there are always squares that allow you to add more things.
Yes, you can do. You can always do a sub,
right?
And for which you can use a template, or you can just do a blank.
Right. And you can add information to each of those, so you know why you actually put it in there. Because I Forget.
May I ask which plotter you purchased? Did you purchase the professional plotter or did you purchase the just
No, I just bought the cheapest I could. I
okay.
did not get the pro. The pro, to me, it was all about using the cloud. And to me, the cloud is just somebody else's computer. So I don't like the cloud, especially with my writing. I'm like, no, I want to know exactly where it is at all times.
Right.
Mhm.
But that's just Luddite me.
So
So,
I do want to add, and this is sort of a tie-in to MWA later in the month. There's going to be a NaNoWriMo panel that we will be having in just 2 weeks. But speaking of National Novel Writing Month, if anybody out there is has joined NaNoWriMo and has a login, you can go to the NaNoWriMo website, go to Writers Resources, drop that down, and I think, hold on, and I will tell you exactly what it's called. It is called Writers Resources, and then the very last thing on that drop-down menu is called Offers. When you go to Offers, you'll see all of the affiliate organizations that think National Novel Writing Month is all that and a bag of chips, which it is. And on there is Plottr and Scrivener. So Scrivener's offering a free trial through December the 7th. And if you like it, you can purchase at 50% off. If you want to just purchase it outright, it's 20% off. And Plottr is 30% off for winners and 15% off if you just want to purchase it outright. So, and they both give you the coupon codes on that. And there are other things too that
cool.
seem very rabbit holey, so I avoid them and I don't dive in there because like then it's me and Alice drinking martinis and I never get anything done.
So, well, this is for the winner is if you do your 50K, right? Does that
Yes.
make you a winner?
That does, yeah. So I think what Scrivener is saying through NaNoWriMo is if you are logged into National Novel Writing Month, you have a project, you download the trial Scrivener through NaNoWriMo, and then you are a winner. You're allowed to then go back and purchase Scrivener at 50%.
Okay. Okay.
I believe that is.
All right.
Margaret has that mind to read things that seem more official, so she can probably look and tell us. Like, I don't know. I read part of it. It got long. I made the rest up.
I believe you. I believe you, Lori.
And there's circus tickets in there somewhere.
Yeah, right.
There's always like the monkey comes in with a
Right.
ninja. I don't know.
Right.
Does anyone else who's still here with us now have a question about Scrivener or Plottr? Brian, I would be interested to know if you use any of these for your young adult.
I actually use Scrivener for everything I write, including picture books. I've really enjoyed it. And I know like the picture book thing sounds weird, but a lot of my picture books have back matter and different things like that. And so it's really easy to put all of that into one place. I can use that research folder to store everything that I need to. And then the compile feature that Eileen showed, you can actually go in and choose how it shows up in the manuscript, because I have different publishers for some of my different books and they want it formatted differently. And the compile feature lets you worry about the formatting at the end. And so you can do all of your writing and then you can sit and do the formatting and everything and get it the way it's supposed to be for whatever editor needs to see it.
Nice. And so do you find also that for a young adult audience that very linear way of thinking and making sure that things are told in a certain fashion at a certain length is helpful within Scrivener?
Yeah, and it helps. And then also like that ability to go in and look and see like what your word count is, particularly like at a middle grade or a chapter book level where they want, particularly at chapter books, where they want the chapters to all be roughly the same length. And when they say roughly the same length, they mean like, we want them all to be 400 words. And so, I mean, it's not like some are 350 and some are 450, like there's a very small window.
No.
And so it's really easy then to see, okay, so for this chapter, it's 398, I'm good. This one, it's 300 or 350, I better do something there. And so those tools also make it easy to do that. And then to make sure that it's formatted correctly and that it's linear, but also I think laid out in a way that a reader can sort of break it up into chunks if they want to.
Nice. Yeah. So this goes back a bit to Claire's question of how is it useful across genre? And Margaret, what were you going to say?
I'm just curious for Scrivener users, when you export it and send it to your editor and it comes back with comments, do you then address the comments in Scrivener and re-export it again? Or are you working in Word or whatever other tool from that point on?
I go back to Scrivener. When
You
I
do?
first
Okay.
started going back and forth like that, because I would be sending things to people, in chunks along the way. So like just like the first half, and then it got to be like a version nightmare of knowing what I'd put where. So I always go back to that main Scrivener file, and that's where I put in the changes. It's not that hard to like go back and forth between what they've done in a track changes in Word and there, but it was a nightmare for a while.
An excellent question. Yeah, I would have thought that I would stick with Word after that. But yeah, that's good to hear. So anybody else have any questions? Scrivener, Plottr, anything? Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Oh, I gave the host over to Glenda. Glenda, can you stop recording?